What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Jared. Mandalorian episode 7 is here. It dropped. I watched it. I'm staying up a little bit too late once again, but I'm very excited to talk about this episode. But before I get into my thoughts, spoiler free, spoiler full episode or thoughts on this episode, let me know what you guys thought of this episode if you've checked it out, if you're looking forward to this one. Do you kind of like the track that they're getting back on for these last two episodes? Let me know in the comments down below. But without further ado, spoiler free, I like that they're sort of getting more on track with this show in the last two episodes. This is going to be essentially a two-parter finish, and we're jumping back on with where sort of episode 3 ended. The last 3 episodes sort of felt like procedurals, a mission of the week rather, and I didn't really care for that. 1, 2, and 3 felt like a movie. 3, 4, 5, and 6 felt like just kind of throwaway, and now we're getting back into that. And overall, this episode of getting essentially the gang back together and where it kind of leads, I like it. And again, this is directed by Deborah Chow. Not all of it lands like episode 3 did for myself, but there are some crazy fun, cool scenes in this and introduces some new things within these last 2 episodes. So this one, I don't know where I would rank it, if it's my favorite, least favorite, but we're definitely getting more on track for these last 2 episodes and the season finale. But now getting into the spoilers all throughout this episode of Mandalorian episode 7. I like that they're getting back on track with sort of the main mission. The main through line was Baby Yoda and what they're going to do with that. In 4, 5, and 6, the episodes there, they touch on it a bit with these hunters coming after the Mandalorian, but now they're actually diving more into the actual through line and what has been going on with the Mandalorian and how to essentially resolve this with the Empire trying to get this Baby Yoda. And he goes back, he gets this distress call from Carl Weathers. He has to go back to Navarro, or hold on a sec. Navarro. And before that, he goes and he picks up Cara Dune again, and she's kicking ass on that planet and whatnot. Kind of a cool scene of like this almost like cage fight and whatnot, showing off her skills. But then he also goes back to the first planet to get Nick Nolte's character Quill, I believe. And it's sort of like getting this band back together, because I always was saying that these two characters are going to have to come back together, have to play into the plot somehow, because you can't introduce these people and have sort of this connection with the Mandalorian and them not get paid off. And when he's picking up these characters, also the IG droid, Quill's character, fixes him back up, so I'm curious if that's going to backfire, and instead of protecting him, he is actually going to shoot the Mandalorian. We'll see how that plays out. But when they're flying back to Navarro to kind of save the town from all of these Empire or Imperial, ex-Imperial rather, I was just waiting for the song "The Boys Are Back in Town" to start playing, because again, you're getting this gang of people that you've kind of, I wouldn't say entirely were exposed to and kind of loved throughout this season, but they're more of the main supporting characters aside from the Mandalorian. So I like how he got these guys back together, goes back to the planet. He's going to get double-crossed, but Carl Weathers, spoiler, he gets healed by Baby Yoda. We had finally seen Baby Yoda's powers in this one, because not only does he help and save Carl Weathers' character and heals his arm, which proves that this Baby Yoda, 50 years old or whatever, has a lot of power, a lot of force, really is in touch with the Force. So I'm curious how that's going to pan out in episode 8 and also in future episodes if Baby Yoda continues through. But also he's force choking, so he's going into his powers, and that force choking scene was kind of almost like scary to see this little tiny thing have that much power. But again, from Deborah Chow, I was hoping for some kick-ass action like in episode 3, and there's probably 2 different instances where that happens, and it's these like pterodactyls, space pterodactyls are coming down, and they're just in the desert, it's night, they're shooting them with the blasters, and the blasters are really illuminating all of the characters and the environments. It's a very, very cool scene, and it happens like right at 20 minutes in this episode, and my jaw was like on the ground, because I was like, yes, yes, this is exactly what I wanted from this show, from Deborah Chow. So I'm glad we got that. But then getting back into the town, Carl Weathers' character says that there's only a handful of characters. There's way more than, or not characters, but stormtroopers. There's way more than that. But then when there's death troopers that show up with Giancarlo Esposito's character, which I don't think we got the name of him. He's very much a high-ranking ex-Imperial, or this might actually be the start of the New Order. I'm curious if they're ever going to touch on that. But the Death Troopers just essentially doing a shootout of the bar, kicking ass. I mean, that looks awesome. The bad thing is this is, again, a two-parter episode. So it's ramping up, but then it kind of stops, and we have to wait until next week to kind of see how this revolves. So I'm curious if next week is going to be about 40 to an hour, or maybe tease towards season 2. Going back a little bit, though, probably the heartbreaking big thing that happens in this episode is it's a race against the clock. You know, Carl Weathers, Gina Carano's character, Cara Dune, and also the Mandalorian are kind of setting up this job, and then it falls apart. But Quill, Nick Nolte's character, is trying to get back to the ship to protect him, to get Baby Yoda off the planet. But 2 speeder troopers take him out. And from the musical, or from the score at the end, and how the character's laying and how they snatched up Baby Yoda, I really think that this character did bite the dust. And again, we didn't get exposed to him that much. There was 2-3 episodes there that he was the main character. I have spoken. A lot of people are grabbing onto that phrase. And I will say, I didn't tear up or anything, but that was sort of an emotional beat, because the episode ends right there with not this over-the-top Mandalorian score that we're used to, but more of a somber, toned-down score. And yeah, Deborah Chow was able to capture the action in this episode, but also the emotional beats and how the gravity of the situations that they are in. Aside from that, I'm very, very excited for episode 8 when that comes out next week. Because Giancarlo Esposito's character, again, looks like he is a high-ranking ex-Imperial New Order. We don't know. He has Death Troopers with him. He's bringing down a TIE fighter. There's a lot that we have to look forward to in this final episode. I think that that's going to be the action-packed finale to this. But I guess I'm very excited that this kind of turned the tide back on track, because episodes 4, 5, and 6 felt like mission of the week, job of the week. This is getting back onto the through line. I like that. However, there were a few things that I didn't entirely like, and I think some of the dialogue between the characters, Gina Carano and also Carl Weathers, there were a few lines that just felt like they were straight up just reading from a script. It didn't entirely take me out, but it was just like, oh man, it's a little wooden, and their performance, their portrayal, their delivery, I guess. It might have maybe taken me out a little bit, but overall, this was a solid episode. The exposition in this episode felt a little heavy-handed, like when it's almost a flashback of Quill, Nick Nolte's character, getting the IG droid and teaching him how to serve food and work for him again. I wrote down, why are you showing me this? And I have a feeling that it's going to pay off in episode 8 or maybe future episodes. I don't know. But that felt like it was very odd, because it's straight up exposition and just showing us things that, how does this tie in with anything in this episode, let alone the overall series? I understand that we had a feeling that Taika Waititi's character, the IG droid, was going to get fixed and come back into the fold, and that's exactly what happened. But why are you explaining me this? Why are you showing the character not being able to pour, essentially feed for these cattle and moving boxes? It felt odd, and I don't know why it was in this episode, but aside from that, you take out that maybe 5 minutes, it's a very good episode. So what do you guys think of episode 7? So what do you guys think of episode 7 of The Mandalorian? Is this getting back on track for these final two-part episodes? or are you kind of, on the side of you're kind of not on board for this series anymore? You've kind of been burnt for the last 3 episodes. Let me know in the comments down below. Anyways, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Watch some more videos up there, movie reviews, trailer actions, fun comedy skits, plenty of stuff. Star Wars coming up, I think, in 2 days. I'm going to do a spoiler-free and a spoiler episode along with a ranking, so stay tuned for all of that. Follow all of my social media. Click that subscribe button. It seriously helps me out, guys. And until next time, I'll see you later.